Walker Smith worked at Waitrose for 17 years and he lost his job over a bag of stolen Easter eggs. 17 years in the same store. And then one Sunday in April, he saw a man he recognized, not a friend, but a repeat shoplifter, calmly filling a Waitrose bag with Easter eggs. There was no rush about it, no concern, like he knew nothing was going to happen. And for 5 years, Walker Smith was right, because nothing ever happened. In fact, he had always been told, again and again, don't intervene, let it happen, stay out of it. So for 5 years, that's exactly what he did. He watched people come in and out, take whatever they wanted every hour, every day. Until that Sunday, he decided to intervene. But 2 days later, Waitrose called him in and fired him. The man who stole from the store walked away. How does that happen? Like I said, Walker Smith said that he'd been watching this theft happen every single day for 5 years. And every time the same instruction, don't intervene, stay out of it, just watch. And before I even go on, I can't help feeling like Walker Smith's story is some kind of a metaphor for something much bigger here. Because haven't we all been told the same thing in one way or another for years now? Leave things alone. Don't intervene. Don't say anything. Just allow the right people to handle things. People were told that about mass migration. We were told that about crime in our communities. We were told that about 100 things that were visibly, obviously wrong in this country. So we stood back and we trusted the people who said that they had it under control, and they didn't handle it. They handled nothing. And when people stopped waiting and started speaking, not even acting, just speaking out, the response wasn't to listen. It was a knock at the door, police investigating tweets, the Home Office, our Home Office, treating concerned citizens like criminals for saying out loud what everyone could already see. Now, I know the Home Office has said that they will no longer be wasting police time on legal social media posts. Wow, round of applause, because it should not have been happening in the first place. Why on earth were police turning up at people's doors over legal posts anyway? But that is a conversation for another day. And back to Walker Smith. He gave Waitrose 17 years and intervened out of genuine care for the place that he'd made his own in some way or another. And what did the institution do? It sided with the thief, the person who came with nothing but with the intention to take, who had been taken for years, who will walk into that store again probably next week. He faces no consequences. Walker Smith faced all of them. And if that doesn't tell you something about which direction this country has decided to point itself in, I don't know what will. But the public's response to this has been really good, because within hours of the news breaking of him being fired, the boss of Iceland offered him a job. Strangers started a fundraiser that raised thousands and thousands of pounds for a man that they had never met. The comments, the shares, the outrage, it was immediate and it was everywhere. Ordinary people recognized what had happened instantly, because ordinary people, well, they still know right from wrong. They don't care about your policies. And as always, in those moments where senselessness and stupidity tries to have the last word, good always shows up anyway. And speaking of bosses, the CEO of Marks and Spencer, he seems not to be happy with the state of the capital as well. So he wrote to the Home Secretary this week, and his retail director wrote to the Mayor of London. And what he said is worth quoting directly, because it is exactly what people on the street have been saying for years, and I've been told that they are wrong about it. They just exaggerate it. He said that he keeps hearing that crime is falling, especially in London, and that almost nobody working in retail believes that. That it's becoming routine, that it seems that there are no consequences. Now, I want to talk about something first that comes up often when this conversation happens. The idea that shoplifting is driven by the cost of living, by desperation, by people who cannot afford to eat. Sometimes that's the case, but the thing is, and there's been research done on this, it's not poverty itself that correlates with property crime. It's inequality, or the feeling of inequality, the feeling of the gap between yourself and others, and the resentment of it. It sounds familiar, but it's morally kind of a different thing. Because what that means is that most of these people, they're not stealing because they're starving or they have nothing to eat. They're stealing because they've decided what they're owed, that they're owed these things. And I'm sorry, but it's quite difficult for me to have sympathy for someone like that. And honestly, even setting aside all the research, just look at some of the videos that go viral. These people are not really desperate. And I think what is far more likely is that they have made a straightforward calculation. The law is weak, enforcement is weaker, and nothing is going to happen to them. So that is not poverty. That's an opportunistic mindset.
Thieves are overwhelming UK stores.
Smile on the camera.
Do you need to stop?
Yeah, I'm going with it.
Brazen shoplifters that have been caught on camera are making no attempt to hide their faces.
That is people who have decided that rules just don't apply to them. And they're right, because nobody has proved them otherwise. So I don't have sympathy for these kinds of people. I'm sorry. The person I have sympathy for is Walker Smith. People like him who just want to make an honest living and, God forbid, actually care about their job, want to look after their space, feel some responsibility for the place they spend their days in. And that's really what this is about for me. When you strip everything back, ownership, care, stewardship, Walker Smith knows that he doesn't own that Waitrose. He knows that. But he felt some kind of responsibility for it, at least within his working hours. What on earth is wrong with that? Apparently, maybe quite a lot, according to some of these institutions. Because the thinking now, as I said earlier, is don't intervene. Leave it to the authorities. You were just passing through this space. It's not your concern. And on the surface, that sounds like it's about safety, but what it actually does over time is that it strips people of something quite fundamental, that need to give a damn. That feeling that this world, the world around you, in your small little world, is yours in any meaningful sense. Not yours in a legal sense, but in the sense that, you know what? What happens here, it matters to me. If something goes wrong in this space that I occupy, then it's my business too. But the aim is for us to own nothing and be happy, remember? And owning something, ownership, is not just related to material things. It's much deeper than that. So you will own nothing. You will feel nothing. You will care about nothing beyond yourself. You'll just be a passive agent, moving through spaces that belong to no one, protecting nothing, invested in nothing. You're just coasting. How soulless and dehumanizing is this? And Walker Smith, whether he used these terms and these words or not, he rejected this. After 5 years of being told to stand and watch, something in him said, no, not today. And Waitrose made an example of him for it. I once worked at a store in South London. It was quite a nice place, actually. I loved my colleagues. I loved the owner. It was just such a good place to be. It had great vibes, and I can tell you that if someone had come in to steal, my first thought would never have been, well, I don't get paid enough for this. No. My thought would have been, hold on a second, what an affront to me. You were coming into my space, or at least a space I occupy now and I care about, and you think you can just take from it? Where is your respect? It feels violating. It genuinely does. And I really don't know how anyone defends it or expects the people working in these environments to just absorb it all with a smile. The brazen lawlessness in our cities needs tackling. But too many politicians have their hands over their eyes and ears, and somehow if you, the person who doesn't have their hands over their eyes and ears, you dare to say your thoughts out loud, then you are told that you are wrong. In fact, not just wrong, but you're irrational, you're hysterical, your feelings don't match the evidence. Didn't you know? Murders are down, like I said. Look at this graph over here. Look at this carefully compiled set of statistics that proves things are not as bad as you think. Look, nobody cares about your graphs anymore. And the absolute worst response, the one that makes people's blood boil more than anything else, is to tell them that they are just imagining things, that their experience is a perception problem, a social media problem, that they have somehow been misled into feeling unsafe in places that they have lived their whole lives. A murder is not the only thing that makes people feel unsafe. If someone snatches my phone from my hand, I feel unsafe. And it reminds me of this video that went viral not too long ago. There was a young man on a London street. He was holding his phone out. He was mocking tourists, basically, walking around with their phones visible, as if they were the ones that are naive. They are the idiots. They are the problem. The joke was that anyone who doesn't already know how to guard their phone in London is the idiot. But you know, the thing is, look, let me say this. For a long time, Britain was relatively a high trust society. A high trust society is one where people broadly follow the rules, not because that they're forced to, but because there is this kind of shared understanding of how things work, what is expected, what is acceptable. You queue, you pay, you don't take what isn't yours. And when someone does, there is a general expectation, not a guarantee, of course not, but an expectation that something will be done about it. And that's what allows strangers to exist around each other without that low-level, constant, exhausting calculation of threat. It runs underneath everything, and you only really notice it when it starts to go. Look, all of these factors just contribute to the fact that lawlessness and disorder is just becoming the new normal in our major cities. And then add to that the reduction of visible policing. For years now, police officers have been pulled away from the streets, away from communities that they actually knew, and now they're redeployed into whatever the priority of the moment happens to be. And when you remove that visible, consistent, community-embedded presence, people notice. The wrong people notice most of all. But it goes deeper than numbers and deployment. Policing in this country has had a genuine identity crisis for years, a confusion about what it actually is for. And that confusion has shown up in very visible, very troubling ways. We watch officers turn up at people's doors, like I said, over posts, social media posts. We watch forces issue statements about their feelings on various cultural moments, while shoplifting became so routine that retailers stopped reporting it completely because they knew nothing would ever happen. You see, the signal that this sends to the honest and the dishonest alike is catastrophic, because policing only works if people believe it works. The moment that belief goes, and it has been going for a while, then you end up exactly where we are now, where a repeat shoplifter walks into a Waitrose every day knowing with complete certainty nothing will happen to him. And he's right. So I have covered a lot of ground in this video, and to be honest, I think that's fine. I think that's right, because events like this, story like Walker Smith's, should make us think, not just about one man and one supermarket, but about everything, about who we are as a country, about what our institutions actually stand for, about what we owe to each other as people sharing a space and a society. We don't have to accept the direction things are going. And I want to say this clearly: do not let Walker Smith's story put you off from doing good. Do not let it make you keep your head down and stop caring. Pick your battles, pick them sensibly, do not put yourself in danger, but as much as we possibly can, let us stick up for one another. Let us stick up for the society, for the thing that is still worth protecting here, because it is still worth protecting and speaking up for and defending. Anyway, I can talk for hours, but let me know what you think. Subscribe if you've enjoyed this, share if you've learned something, become a member if you want to help the channel grow. Like I said, let me know your thoughts on anything discussed here or anything whatsoever. I do read some of them, so I would love to hear from you. Until next time, stay safe and stay sane. See you again.